probably my favorite character, period, to voice, is the terrorist Cobra commander who leads the evil Cobra organization in its war against American Special Forces Unit G.I. Joe in their bid for world domination. Now, Cobra Commander was designed by cartoonist Larry Hama, and the initial design of Cobra Commander in the comic books was almost this Timothy McVeigh character. Somebody who was disillusioned with his country. His brother had been killed, unappreciated in the aftermath of the Vietnam War. He was disillusioned with the sort of capitalist system. And to be honest, he was a fairly believable and scary character, especially if you consider that Larry Hama was writing these comics in the 1980s, and from what we know about prominent terrorists now, like Timothy McVeigh and other right-wing terrorists, it's kind of scary. But in the animated cartoon, the Sunbow series, they obviously had to tone down that element to make it more suitable for kids. So he had a much more cartoonish sounding voice. I am the great Cobra Commander. I'll get those Joes! It was kind of, a little over the top. But very, very fun to voice. Um, Later on, of course, there was another animated series. I'm not really going to get into Valor versus Venom or Sigma 6 because those pretty much sucked. That's just my opinion. But then there was G.I. Joe Resolute, which had another redesign of the character that was a little more sinister, a little more true to the roots of the original character. I use the name Cobra Commander, the founder of an organization that you great and glorious people consider to be criminals. A little more sinister sounding. Interestingly enough, the voice actor for Cobra Commander, originally Chris Slater or Lotta, also voiced Starscream in the Transformers series. The voice actor unfortunately died sometime in the mid 90s, and he was eventually replaced after a couple of stand ins by Charlie Adler in the Resolute series, who also voices Starscream in the movie and I think in some of the other Transformers related mediums. And of course, they also had this imposter in the new G.I. Joe live action movie. He sounds like Darth Vader! It's very, I wasn't particularly impressed with that Cobra Commander. Because we all know he's really the kid from Third Rock from the Sun! Cobra Commander's character in the Sunbow series didn't have nearly as much background as his comic book predecessor. In the first episode, Destro, one of his chief lackey, happens to find him somewhere in the Andes Mountains, I believe, and there was no real background given to his character besides the fact in one episode he's alluded to be a military officer who was expelled from his academy for leading a coup, I believe. That seems rather in character, don't you think? In actual fact, though, it turned out in G.I. Joe the movie that Cobra and Cobra Commander himself, believe it or not, they were all just a front for a guy who sounds like the Penguin off of Batman, who rides a giant Brussels sprout to bring about the zombie apocalypse. Huh. And by the way, in G.I. Joe the movie, they finally revealed Cobra Commander's backstory, and it turns out, and I think that Sunbow obviously placed hints to this all throughout the series, it appears that Cobra Commander was really a lizard alien man thing. If you were paying special attention, I mean, that should be perfectly obvious, but I can understand how, if you aren't a longtime follower of G.I. Joe, that could kind of catch you by the blind side. In all seriousness, I felt like this wasn't just jumping the proverbial shark, it was jumping basically a Carcharodon Megalodon size creature. But G.I. Joe the movie was entertaining. It consists of Cobra Commander being mutated into a giant snake type thing and hissing, I was once a man! Mostly for the entire movie. Um, and then somehow in the Deke series, he mysteriously comes back and looks human again. So again, he's obviously an alien. Don't let it fool you. Anyway,
This is Cobra Commander, and thank you very much for watching this video.